Hello guys, welcome to my podcast Thinking in Sound, and today is number 18 and I'm going to talk about registration. 5 minutes playing, 25 minutes adjusting stops. Well, really, very related topic to all who play the organ and have to set up registration either for church service or for the concert. It always gives us lots of trouble and pain, and is it possible to make it more fun and to take it easy? I think I remember myself as young organist. We could not have much of experience in making registration because our largest organ at the Academy of Music at that time was Schuke organ. Basically, it has 2 keyboards and pedal board and 12 organ stops totally. So I think, yes, if I remember it correctly, I think we had like 5 stops on the Hauptwerk, on the grid, then the 4 stops on the second manual. Swell, well, it wasn't really swell because it did not have swell pedal. And 3 stops on the pedal board for the pedals, and it also has like 3 couplers, adding first or second division to the pedal and coupling both keyboards together. So that's it. So as you can imagine, this is really too small instrument to really get the sense of how to make registration right, and imagine my frustration and my fear when I sat down at the big organ in the church for the first time and I had to set up my own registration. Because when, of course, I was a student at the Academy of Music, Lithuanian Academy of Music, my teacher would make a registration for me, which I think was a really big mistake because when later on in life I went to study to the United States, to 2 different universities, and nobody already made a registration for me there, and I had to do it on my own. So how did I do at first? Well, all beginners want to do everything perfect, and we keep struggling. Does this sound right? Or the balance is right? Or I need to record it, or I need to ask my assistant to play the episode for me and to run downstairs to listen if that sounds right. And oh no, I ruined my registration, I forget, maybe that another one was better. And all these questions, should I don't know, play it with a reed stop, or should I use cornet, or whatever. These things goes on and on and on and on. But I think we all need to find an easier way how to make registration fast and sufficient and stop torturing us. And I'll talk about it more after I'll sip some of water from a beautiful Secret of Organ Playing mug. So what makes the setting up the registration easier is really knowing what you want and being prepared in advance. For example, if you are traveling to a known organ, you need to have specification in advance. And if it's possible, to listen to a recording of a particular organ if it's available. That way, if you will set up registration in advance, it will be easier for you to do it in a real environment. You can just maybe readjust some things and change some things. So the most common advices would be, if you are playing on the Baroque instrument, early type of instrument, just remember that, if you are playing, let's say, fugue and prelude and fugue by J.S. Bach, just play it on the piano registration. Maybe, add some reeds for the prelude or for a fugue, listen what works, posaune or trumpet, and basically that's it. If it's chorale prelude, let's say, with a solo voice, think about it, what might work for it. If the melody is in the right hand, you might use cornet stop. If it's, let's say, in the tenor voice, then, of course, cornet will not work, but you can, maybe try some nice reed stop, cromorn or oboe, or whatever else is available, and try that, And usually if it's, the Baroque style instrument, nicely built, sometimes even just one or two principles would work nicely, as registration for some piece of music. But if you are playing, of course, on the romantic instrument, then it's, it might be difficult to find like a really nice solo voice, or additional stop, let's say principal 8 foot might not work, might be too weak, because in romantic organs you need to combine and to pull off more stops together. And keep in mind, if it's like in Lithuania, we have plenty of such instruments in the village churches that has two divisions, sort of late romantic style. So remember that the upper keyboard usually is much, much weaker than the main keyboard. So keep that in mind. Maybe, don't select the pieces with the solo voices for such an instrument, because obviously it might be difficult for you to find the right registration. And don't afraid to experiment. Always know, if, let's say, the instrument is very small and you want to make your registration sound more interesting and different for each piece, explore possibilities, as, for example, playing only the 4 foot stop. That might give a nice effect, especially if you are playing, I don't know, beautiful short canzona. That might be, good solution. Or, if you have, let's say, 4 prominent 4 foot stop on the pedal board, you can play, melody in the pedals. Maybe do the special improvisation with the melody line in the pedal. That might be really nice. And, sometimes you can play entire, piece an octave lower on an octave higher. That might also add a variety to the registration. And don't worry if, things don't work always as you expected, because be brave, try to experiment, and, things might happen, and you might find really nice combinations just by accident. And of course, there might be organs that nothing sounds good, and you cannot really register it well, but it's not your problem, it's the organ's problem. I remember, myself from my experience playing really nice soft piece by Benoit, the French composer from Luxembourg, actually. And I remember we did not have any time to explore that instrument. We had just sit down and to play a concert. Vidas and I, we did some duets and some solo pieces. And I remember Vidas tried to find at least one nicely working stop on that instrument that, that Benoit piece would, no, that stop would do justice for Benoit's piece, and he wasn't able because actually there was no nice organ stops on that particular organ. So, well, what can I say? Things happen, and don't be surprised at that. Such a life. Not everybody understands that organ needs to be taken care of, and that stops needs to be tuned, especially reed stops, but often even flute stops. So, well, what can you expect? Just be patient and smile, and everything will be just fine, because we as an organist can feel, let's say, subtle differences between stops and adding some more colors to it, or changing it, but general audience, we have no idea what we are doing, and basically you can play really whatever and however, and we will still be applaud you at the end of your concert and be supportive, and well, basically that's life, and you cannot expect that everybody will have such a sophisticated taste in organ music as you do. So just don't blame yourself for things that you cannot change, and do the best you can, and enjoy that beautiful world of organ stops, and don't stop experimenting and exploring. Okay, thank you for listening, and please subscribe to my channel, and please send me your questions, because I love helping you to grow as an organist. And thank you for being with me and watching my episode number 18, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.